What's going on, 49er faithful, 49er fan, 49er gang? This is your boy Niner Gang Podcast back in the building. So definitely hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, turn on those post notifications so I can keep you up to date on any and everything San Francisco 49ers. That being said, let's get right on into it. I know I've been gone for a cool minute, man. I know it's been like a crazy hiatus. But I mean, there wasn't really a lot to talk about, and I didn't want to be that guy that saturated the 49er market with all of the things that have been going on. So I figured I'd come out in light of everything that's happened this offseason and all of the things that have been going on. And let's talk about it. Let's go ahead and get into it and figure out exactly what it is that we have that we need to figure out and address in this offseason, man. It's definitely going to be a bit of a tumultuous offseason nonetheless, man. So I'm going to go ahead and get right on into it. Let's start with the coaching staff. Coaching staff has been all but obliterated outside of Kyle Shanahan. Everybody has gone everywhere. Everybody has done everything, and we have new coaches in the buildings. So let's take a look at the brand new coaching staff, and I'm pretty sure some of these names are going to sound a little familiar. Only last names, really, just basically due to the fact that these guys are most likely related to someone. So Stephen Adegoke is our defensive quality control. James Craig, assistant offensive line coach. Asani Rufus, offensive quality control. Brian Snyder, special teams coordinator. Joe Graves, assistant offensive line coach. Brian Griese has been named the quarterbacks coach. Now, I'll stop there for just a quick second, strictly based on the fact that Brian Griese being our quarterbacks coach was a call made by Kyle Shanahan. Obviously, he hires all the coaches. But I believe that he's doing that just to try to see if he can try to keep Trey in the pocket. That just seems like what it is to me. I honestly don't believe that there's any other reason that Brian Griese would be in here, because he wasn't necessarily like the dopest quarterback of all, and it wasn't like he was just, over the top about it. That's all I'm saying. So Brian Griese is here. He is the quarterback's coach. Next guy on the list, we've got Deuce Schwartz, offensive quality control. Nick Sorensen, defensive assistant. Anthony Lynn is the assistant head coach / running backs coach. So Lynn obviously came in and basically took the deal that Jesus Christ, I can't remember his name. But we basically had another coach in here who didn't want to take that kind of a pay cut, which I can understand. You know what I'm saying? You got to get your money. So we had him in here, and now we have Anthony Lynn in. I think he's going to be great for the run game. He's going to be great for our run game support in general. Those things will definitely look to be upgraded with the addition of Anthony Lynn. So Bobby Slowick is the offensive pass game coordinator. Clay Kubiak, assistant quarterbacks coach. Brian Fleury is now our tight ends coach. Chris Forrester, offensive line / run game coordinator. Leonard Hankerson is now our wide receivers coach, as Wes Welker went with Mike McDaniels to Miami. Let's see here. So then these are some of our departures. So once again, Mike McDaniels and Wes Welker, they left for Miami. Richard Hightower is the special teams coordinator for the Chicago Bears. John Embry is the assistant head coach, tight ends coach. He has now went on to the Miami Dolphins. Butch Berry went to the be the offensive line coach for the Denver Broncos. Rich Gangarello is the offensive coordinator at Kentucky University. Zach Yinter, offensive line coach, Kentucky University. So he went with Scangarello. James Betcher is the linebackers coach with the Cincinnati Bengals. And Bobby Turner is not coaching in 2022 due to health reasons. He did not leave the team for any other reason other than that. I believe he had a procedure this offseason, and that did not allow him to basically be here this season, but I'm pretty sure he'll be back next season. We wish him a speedy recovery. We got prayers up for him. Nothing but love for Bobby Turner. So those are the coaching changes. So the next thing is, let's take a look at these free agents, man. So a couple of these guys are here, and once we have that list up, we'll go ahead and get over that. Let's take a look. There we go. So the biggest signing this offseason has been Charvarius Ward. We signed Charvarius Ward to a 3-year deal worth up to $42 million with $26.7 million guaranteed. Basically, we solidified another cornerback spot. We do still have E-Man Sanders. We do still have DeAndre Lenore and Ambry Thomas. We did re-sign Dante Johnson, unfortunately, but we all knew he would be back. This is not uncommon for him. That's always going to be the case when it comes to Dante Johnson. He is here, and I feel like he literally just, goes home, sits on the couch. His wife asks if he's going to get a job, and he politely says no. The Niners will be calling in second, and randomly they call. So, we've got a lot of guys in here. So we got Charvarius Ward. We got Ray McLeod. He's a receiver/returner. Hassan Ridgeway. He's a defensive tackle. Oren Burks, a linebacker. Greg Odom, a safety. Jordan Willis has been re-signed. Jeff Wilson Jr. is coming back. Kerry Hyder has been signed back after a horrible year in Seattle. He came back to the Niners on a nice little $1.5 million deal, and I'm pretty sure he's going to do great. He was awesome when we lost Nick Bosa the year prior when we were ravaged by COVID injuries. He had basically 8.5 sacks, so he was doing really well. And Ross the Boss Dwelly is back. He is definitely going to be there as probably tight end number 2 or 3. So those are the guys that we've signed. I know we have a couple more guys that are newer that have been signed, and I didn't see those names on that list, but I will find them and put them in there because we do have a couple more people that are there. So the off-season program is definitely going to start, and our off-season program begins April 19th. The off-season program consists of 3 phases. The first is a 2-week session. It only consists of meetings, off-field workouts, and rehab for injured players. The second phase is when on-field work can start. It's 3 weeks of individual or group drills. There's no offense or defense contact permitted at this point. Phase 3 is 4 weeks long and features up to 10 days of organized team activities. Teams can do offense versus defense at this point, but they're not allowed to do any live contact. San Francisco's workouts begin on April 19th. OTAs are May 23rd, May 25th, and May 26th. May 31st, June 2nd, June 3rd, and June 6th through June 9th. Mandatory minicamp for San Francisco starts June 14th through 16th. These will be big sessions for the 49ers and second-year quarterback Trey Lance, who figures to get all the reps under center. His performance in the offseason work could determine whether the club pits him and Jimmy Garoppolo against each other in a training camp QB battle. So now that we have all of the logistics out of the way, so to speak, what's going on, Matt? I don't know what happened with the Cavs. I don't watch Cavalier basketball. Let's get to the offseason, man, and let's get to the tumultuous offseason that we've had. So the number one thing is number 10. I'm not going to address him by name because I don't like him. I don't care for him. Everybody knows how I feel about him. I'll just leave that there for anyone that actually, kind of sees me and pays attention to it. So this is what I will say. When it comes to number 10, the situation got really ugly because they didn't trade him when they traded all those picks for Trey Lance. The one thing you can say about the 49ers is they were very transparent in that Jimmy was a starter and he was the guy going forward. Trey Lance did wind up starting one game because Jimmy Garoppolo had number 10, had a phantom injury, and when he was up there being asked about it, he was probably the worst witness you could ever have. If he was on the stand in a court, a good lawyer would rip him to shreds because he couldn't be able to tell you the truth because he just stumbled over his words and everything got mixed up. When somebody brought up a different way that the injury happened, he just agreed with it, or he just went back to a different point. Like it just was all bad. So Trey Lance gets to start in Arizona. Horrible game plan by Kyle. but we still almost, pull into overtime in that game. I was there. I saw everything happen. A lot of bad things that went on in that game, but nothing to say that it was going to change. Next time we see Trey Lance is in Houston. Houston, he basically was bad in the first half, picked it up in the second half, figured out how to get us a W, and we win that game. If we don't win that game, we're not in the playoffs. So, comes to the playoffs. Number 10 does what he always does. He didn't show up. First game we won based off of the run game. Second game we won based off of special teams. Basically the third game we lost because they just couldn't get anything going. It's really hard to beat a team as many times as we beat the Rams and not lose at least once. We lost at the worst possible time because we lost in the NFC Championship game, which is definitely not something you want to do. So last play of the NFC Championship game for us is Jimmy Garoppolo being sacked and like a dumbass trying to toss the ball, number 10, trying to toss the ball to JaMycal Hasty, who is ridiculously small. For the last couple of minutes, Deebo Samuel was nowhere to be found. It didn't make sense. So offseason comes. The first thing we think is, cool, offseason is here. Lance is the guy. Let's move forward. Let's get Jimmy out of here. And I keep calling him Jimmy. I mean to call him number 10, but you know what? It is what it is. I really don't care at this point. Here's the issue. We seem to have asked for way more than what number 10 was worth. And on top of all that, with the quarterback carousel that wasn't off season, nobody seemed to call about him. It's kind of weird, right? So then you get a little further into the offseason, and right before the owners' meetings, number 10 decides to have surgery. Says, hey, I need shoulder surgery. It's not going to, rehab ain't going to work. Got to go ahead and do shoulder surgery. So we wind up getting fucked royally. And the issue with that is we're sitting here going, all we need to do is get you out of here. He had a no trade clause that was in effect, so he could have stymied a few places that he possibly could have went. Here's the issue. Now that no trade clause is void, so we can send him wherever the hell we want. But the other issue is he's not healthy. He's not going to be able to throw till probably about mid-June, early July. That recovery takes about 12 weeks. So it's a couple months. The beauty is Trey Lance gets all of the offseason work. He is the guy. There is no question, no guess about it. Is Kyle going to name a starter? No. He's not going to say that Trey Lance is a starter. But the thing that I have an issue with is all of the dick riding that they keep doing for Jimmy Garoppolo. They keep trying to prop him up as if they love him. They're going to keep him. He's a great quarterback. We can't just cut that guy. We don't want to lose him. You don't just cut a guy like Jimmy. He's that great. And he's loved in the locker room and all this other bullshit that keeps coming through the teeth of Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch. Here's the number one issue that you're going to face. Jimmy's not going to be there this offseason, period. He's out. But what you can do is, if you really wanted to back the kid, you could just say it. We're looking, you don't have to prop Jimmy up as if he's the greatest thing in the world. You can just make it very simple. When someone asks you about Jimmy Garoppolo and what your plans are for him, the first thing you can tell them is, well, currently Jimmy is not healthy. He is rehabbing an injury. Once he's done rehabbing his injury, we will see what the best course of action is for Jimmy and, his team and his agent. You can simply say that. But no, they're just continually running around going, oh, man, we love Jimmy. Jimmy's the greatest thing. Jimmy this, Jimmy that. Jimmy. Nobody has time for that. So, to me, I'm like, I'm not about to sit up here and do this. I don't want to sit up here and keep acting like number 10 means anything to me because he doesn't. I don't like him. Everybody knows I don't like him. But here's the problem. When you have that issue, what you would need to do is be smart about it, address it quickly, and make it happen. Now, there was a rumor from Florio that Mike Florio started. We all know Florio. We all know who he is. We all know how he works, and we all know, how inconsistent he can be, and how he hates the Niners. So Florio says we were offered 2 second-round picks or something to that effect. We were offered something for Jimmy, and we didn't take it. It was pretty high, which started a bunch of people going, oh, man, like we really just, scoffed at a trade like that. We should have took that. Here's the thing. It wasn't real. John Lynch came out and outright said they've had no offers for Jimmy Garoppolo. None. Nobody's called. So my thing is, if nobody's called, John, why weren't you on the phone with all these quarterback-needy teams in the offseason trying to figure out how the fuck to get them out of here? Why weren't you talking to these guys ahead of time? Right before the NFC Championship game. Y'all could have looked and said, hey, man, look, we doing this, we doing that. Now, I know what the comeback will be for that. You don't want to do that in season. You don't want to do that during the playoffs. You want to focus on the playoffs because you don't know if you're going to win or you're going to lose. It all depends on the game, how it turns out. There's a variety of things that could happen where you could win, go to the Super Bowl. You could lose, not go to the Super Bowl. In this instance, the minute I saw him toss that interception, I am on the phone. I know that's not my guy. I know I need to get him out of here. I need to figure this out fast. I know there's several teams that I can call that need a quarterback. And I'm going to call them and see what they're willing to offer. Hey, this dude's on the trade block. What will you give me? Instead of that, you wait till the offseason because you think somebody's going to slip up and offer you a first-round pick for an injury-prone quarterback who can't see a linebacker and doesn't know how to throw outside the numbers or to the sidelines and can't complete a deep ball to save his life. So you did that and it bit you in the ass. And then Jimmy came and bit you in the ass a little bit more by stating that he was going to have shoulder surgery. So it's very simple. Once Jimmy is healthy, they will figure out the best course of action for him. It will be a situation where they will either cut him or they will go ahead and trade him. The number one thing you cannot do is you cannot have Jimmy Garoppolo on this team or in this locker room or in that facility at all. The number one reason being, if you do that and you haven't made it clear to the locker room, hey, I don't need this lead, but Trey is our guy, you're going to cause a rift in that locker room that you're not going to be able to repair. It was reported that early in the season, when he was bringing Trey in and taking Jimmy out, players came to him and said, don't do that. You're messing with Jimmy's leadership. And I'm pretty sure Jimmy was saying you're messing with my rhythm. And Kyle, listen, here's the thing. As I've said before, I'll say it again. Every now and then you got to drop your nuts. And you got to let motherfuckers know who you are and what you're doing. Our illustrious owner, Jed York, dropped his nuts a couple years ago when everybody was calling for him to go ahead and give up the team. He looked dead into the fucking camera and said, you don't fire the owner. And you don't, which is why Jed York is still here. Although Dr. York and a couple of other people, the York family is fully involved. So here's the other thing about that. You wind up having Jimmy in the locker room. You're going to have pro-Jimmy guys. You're going to have guys that look and say, hey, he's here. Let's run it back with him. There's no need to put the kid on the field. He's not ready. You're going to have specific people in that locker room that are going to fight for him. And if you conceded to the locker room last time when they told you not to rotate the QBs because it was messing up things, then you're going to listen to them again. And I'm not suffering through another year of Jimmy fucking Garoppolo. Number 10 is not going to be on this team. And if he is and he winds up becoming the starter, I'm not watching 49er football. I don't care what you think of me. I don't care how you feel. And I don't care that you may say, well, you're not a real fan because you're not supporting the team. I'm not going to continue to support mediocrity. That's what I'm not going to do. I'm not saying I won't be a Niner fan, I'm just going to say I'm probably going to have to turn into that guy that wakes up, looks at his phone on Sunday, see if we won or lost, and call it a day. I am a fanatic. Like, I know a lot about the Niners, and I pay very close attention to them. But I have no reason to believe that number 10 is going to be here, past the offseason. You don't let him in the building because you don't want to undermine Trey's leadership. If you allow him in the building, what you're saying to Trey Lance is, we don't care about you. Though we traded the farm and we went and put all those picks out there, we could give a fuck that you're here. 10's here. You'll be all right. Just sit another year. It's okay. Jed York has come out and said it's cool that Jimmy stays for both, the final year of his contract, all of that shit. But we all know it's bullshit because look at what's been happening. Look at the way things have been going. Hopefully Kyle and Trey have built a relationship and a bond where he can tell Trey, hey, I don't need you putting this out there to the media, but you're the guy. They've asked several players who the quarterback is. All players have chosen to not answer the question and or state, I don't know. But here's the thing, Ray McCloud was working out with Trey Lance. Nobody's going to work out with Jimmy Garoppolo, obviously, because he can't throw. So what's the significance of working out with someone who's just going to stand there? But what I'm saying is all of the teams that needed a quarterback have one. The only team that doesn't have a quarterback right now currently is the Carolina Panthers. And we all know how that's going to work. They may or may not draft a quarterback. Hell, they may even take Baker Mayfield over Jimmy Garoppolo because Baker Mayfield right now is going to have to try to find a new home because the Cleveland Browns have given up a ton of draft capital to bring in Deshaun Watson. Just to touch on that situation really quick, very happy that Deshaun Watson is back in the NFL. I do hope that they do not suspend him. Yu Darvish is hot garbage, yeah. That's very true. I mean, hey, it is what it is. But I'll say this. When it comes to Deshaun Watson, he's a way better quarterback than Baker Mayfield could ever hope to be. So they made the right decision. When it comes to the off-the-field stuff and everything like that, I'll say this. All of this time that Deshaun Watson was not playing football, he never went to jail, he never went to court, nothing ever happened. A lot of these places are declining to indict him on any type of charges. And then everybody says, well, he still has 22 civil suits. People in the real world, you know what civil suits amount to in layman's terms? Money. People want to be paid. So you know what Deshaun's going to have to do? He might have to pony up some of that big-ass guaranteed contract that he had. I think he got like $259 million guaranteed fully. Like his whole contract is fully guaranteed. So that man is literally set for life. He has nothing to worry about. But they made the right move. Is he going to have to do a couple of things? He's going to have to do some PR shit and a few little small things to kind of save face and make himself look better. It's all a part of the process. We all know it's going to happen. He's probably going to speak with some women's rights groups and do a couple of other things. All these things are necessary. The other thing that I will state is, period, point blank, I have to state that, they shouldn't suspend him because he didn't play last year. So that's like taking a year away from him. That's a year of, eligibility that was not accrued. Wasn't by his choice. Texas didn't want him on the field. So there you go. He's been suspended. Let that man play. He's already served his time. It definitely it is a hard sell for some people. I know Tommy is saying the guy is guilty if he walks like a duck. That's your opinion. You're entitled to it. Me personally, I'm sorry. If there's no indictment, I can't believe that dude is guilty just strictly based on the fact that now we're just going to civil suits and it just turns into a shit show of how much money do you want. It's pretty much where it's going. But back to the 49ers. Situation with number 10 is very simple. I've stated that already. The other thing, Deebo Samuel. So Deebo was caught in an Instagram post with some rapper. I don't know. I don't keep up with some of these new rappers. These names are getting weirder and weirder by the minute. But it was basically saying if it ain't 25 mil, we don't want it. And Debo basically replied to that. Whenever anybody this offseason has been signed, Debo has been replying to that when it comes to wide receivers. You see Davante Adams got broke off by the Raiders. You see Tyreek Hill was traded from the Kansas City Chiefs to the Miami Dolphins. He got broke off. He got a fully guaranteed deal. So Debo Samuel's looking at all of this and going, I'm like almost 20% of the 49ers offense, and I need to be paid as well. He just had a baby. You know, all of these things are coming into play. He knows that he puts his body on the line and he goes out there and he works hard to make sure that he does everything he can for this offense. He's a wide receiver. He's a running back. He's a kick returner, punt returner. The man does everything you can think of. He's the ultimate gadget guy because he actually produces. And you don't just bring him in for special situations. He's on the field consistently. The only time you see him off the field is if he's taking a breather or if he possibly got the wind knocked out of him, which has happened. But I digress. So a lot of talk about whether Debo will be traded or whether he will leave or not. Who knows? And that's just keeping it a buck. The reason being, they said DeForest Buckner was going to be a 49er for a very long, long time. Next thing you know, he's an Indianapolis Colt because we didn't want to give him $20 million. Debo is asking for 25. The top receivers in the league right now, I would say, I believe it's D-Hop, Tyreek Hill, Davante Adams, and I think Amari is up there, but I'm not 100% sure on that. I have to look at the numbers. So all of these guys are getting paid, and they're getting paid, a handsome ransom. The issue is Debo's got to ask for a lot, and I'll tell you why he does. He's living in California. So to break it down for you simply, you pay taxes in whatever state you work. So eight out of those, eight out of those 17 games that you play are going to be outside of your home state. So you have to pay taxes in Arizona. You're going to have to pay taxes in, pretty much that's it. Just Arizona as far as division-wise, because you have the LA Rams, and you have us. We're in California. You have the my bad. You have Arizona and Washington. Those are the two places you're going to have to pay taxes, along with wherever you go for any of the other out of division games that you have to play. But California's got ridiculous taxes. Taxes are crazy high, and there's so much stuff that goes on in California. The cost of living is horrendous. So yeah, he's pretty much got to ask for a real serious bag just to be able to deal with the cost of living. The other question was, can Debo hold out? He cannot. You can't afford to be getting fined the way you get fined, and you're not making that kind of money, nor have you made that kind of money. The only way you can afford to hold out like that is if you got serious endorsement deals coming in, where you can afford to pay those fines until they give you the money that you so choose that you're asking for. But I doubt that he's got those type of endorsement deals. I don't see him doing anything outside of being a 49er. If he does have other endorsement deals, that's perfectly fine. I just don't know about them. I'm not knocking the guy. I'm not saying that he can't get them. I'm just saying I personally haven't seen anything that he's doing outside of being a 49er. So this all started because he scrubbed his account of anything that was related to the 49ers. Like any pictures, anything team related, it's all gone. So some players do that to signify, hey, if I don't get this bag, I want out. He can't force a trade because he's under contract. So we don't technically have to get rid of him. But if the 49ers do trade him, they could get a nice haul for him. I could see somebody giving you a 1 and a 2 for Debo. He's extremely valuable. You can go back to the same well that you had. You can go over to the Dolphins and see if you can get something. I mean, could you imagine Debo Samuel, Tyreek Hill, and Jalen Waddle? That's just insane. Or you go talk to Saleh. The Jets have a couple of picks. Saleh, I know you know who Debo is. I know you know what he is and what he can do, baby. Talk to me. What we got? There's places you can go to shop him, but I wouldn't. I wouldn't trade him at all. Personally, I'd pay him. I'll tell you this. A lot of people were saying this offseason the first people that we need to pay are Debo and Nick Bosa. Here's the thing. Nick Bosa's still in the contract. He missed a year. And last year, yes, he was fantastic. But, hey, can you last another year without getting injured? Give me that. Because you played 1 year. Next year, you got injured. Played another year. So, I just want to see it consistently. And, yeah, then we can work on that. Plus, Nick Bosa is a first rounder, so we have a fifth-year option on him anyway if he tries to go anywhere. So, not too worried about that part. When it comes to Debo, though, I have to say, I would be heartbroken if they traded him strictly because it doesn't make sense that you would trade a guy who means so much to your offense and who is that big of a part of your offense. The other thing is who you're going to replace him with. I know we signed some receiver more recently, but I'm telling you right now, the offseason starting out, Charvarius McLeod as far as being the punt/kick returner. And we've got to make sure we work on him because he had fumbling issues in the past. So there's some things that we got to work with there. But all those other dudes, I really don't see them doing much of anything. And we'll have a lot of off-season signings. We have, I believe, a good 9 draft picks to be able to work with. And, yeah, I mean, if somebody came and dropped 2 first-round picks in your face for Debo, a little hard to turn down, don't get me wrong. But you're betting on if instead of having something proven. And we all know Kyle. Kyle likes proven players. He doesn't like guys he has to actually fully groom and develop. It's a different situation. The other thing this offseason, the offensive line, we need to figure out who the guards are. Kyle came out and lied and said that Aaron Banks was set to potentially start, but they were so happy with the dynamic that they had on the line that they didn't want to disrupt it. That's a crock of shit. When the man doesn't even dress and he's inactive for several different games, but Tom fucking Compton is active, yeah, that tells me straight up, 1, you like a veteran. 2, you like a guy who is somewhat polished. And obviously Aaron Banks wasn't getting the job done when he was in practice. And that's what we heard from all the beat writers. So I don't believe that bullshit. And I know that Kyle and John lie to us on a consistent basis because they don't have to tell us the truth and they choose not to. They don't care how the fans feel. They really don't. And if they truthfully cared how the fans feel, they tell us the truth of things. But there are certain things that you do have to hide because you don't want everybody knowing every single move. There are some things that they could come out and just state, period, which would make life a lot easier for all of us. But at the end of the day, they don't have to. So they choose not to. Everything else going on with the squad is pretty good, man. Javon Kinlaw is looking a lot better. He's starting to run, so I believe he's already going to – I believe he's ready. He's ready for OTAs. He's ready for training camp. He's ready for all of that. And he's been doing what he needs to do to be able to get himself back together. He does believe that he's in the best shape of his life. He has said that, he is, he's ready to go. He has no, he's had no setbacks since the surgery, and he feels that they actually got everything that they needed to get. The other thing is he is, kind of dubbed himself a barbarian. And I believe one of the guys from the SF Niners podcast, he was, he said, yeah, Javon, the barbarian Kinlaw. I like it. I did hear Kinlaw say he was a barbarian himself. So I'm one for monikers when they're earned. Kinlaw had a pretty good rookie year, but it definitely wasn't anything that we were, falling out over outside of the interception return for a touchdown and maybe a sack or two. It was lackluster because we had DeForest Buckner, who had given us almost 10 sacks a year before. That line before Javon Kinlaw came in produced tremendously. The other thing is D Ford's still around. All they did was restructure his contract. I really would love for him to fucking retire and just get off the squad and get off our books. But at this point, I don't care if he sees this. It's about the money for D Ford. He's on the only reason he ain't retired because he's looking for that money. And when you restructure a contract, all you're doing is kicking the can down the road. You're going to give the player that money at some point. It's going to balloon and smack you in the face. So at this point with D Ford, because he's never going to play again, and you won't see him on the practice field, let alone actually on the field, you just go ahead and cut him and you just take the L in your salary cap. You just do so. He's got an injury guarantee. Why the fuck you give somebody like D Ford an injury guarantee is beyond me. But, hey, I don't run shit in the front office. I'm just a fan. But at the end of the day, I would state that you cut D Ford, move on. You just don't need him. So our running back room currently consists of Trey Sermon, Jeff Wilson Jr., and Elijah Mitchell. We all know Mitchell's most likely going to be the starter. Sermon has been working hard this offseason. Seen a lot of workout videos from him, which is good. And that's great for him that he's getting into shape and he's going to be ready to go. As far as the rest of the guys in the crew, saw Juwan Jennings working out with Trey Lance and Brandon Ayuk. Ray McLeod was out there with him too. So we got a couple of people working out with Trey Lance. And one person that we haven't seen with Trey Lance, honestly, is Debo. Now, this is just speculation for me, but I believe Debo is a Jimmy guy. I don't know why. I don't know what the point is. But, I haven't seen him clamoring to get to Trey. Seen Brandon Ayuk, though. And when everybody was backing number 10 this whole offseason, even in the playoffs, and I don't know why you guys talk about him. He just went. Debo was one of those guys. Jaquiski Tartt was one of those guys. I'm not sure if Jimmy Ward said so. I think there's like one more person, but I don't remember exactly who it was. But I know that Debo and Tartt were backing number 10. For me, I don't care what anybody says. You need to get on board. I understand you want your money. So most likely you'll see Debo at mandatory things that are not going to get him fined. Anything that is voluntary, he most likely will not show up because he has no reason to be there until he gets his money. Now, he could save face and be like George Kittle. Just go in, put your head down, keep working, do what you're supposed to do, and keep on pushing. His agent could tell him, hey, we need to make sure that you have, the bag secured. We don't want you to put your body on the line, possibly get injured in training camp. Then they have more of a reason not to pay you, all kinds of things. So it all depends on what he wants to do. Like I said, when players go get their money, I respect them. I don't complain or bitch about it because you have to. The NFL stands for not for long. Sometimes a no fun league, but you have to go get your bread, and you got to get it and get as much guaranteed money as you can. And that's going to be the big thing. It's probably going to be hinging on the guaranteed amounts. So, it is what it is. We'll see what happens with Debo. I don't believe he's going anywhere. I do believe that after number 10 moves on, we'll go ahead and get him signed, get him a bag, and move on through life. So everything else that's been going on this offseason has been very quiet. Offseason's been lackluster. I read you the signings. Be honest with you, I didn't know who Charvarius Ward was until we signed him. I went back and did a little homework. He looks pretty good, but, we'll see how he works out in our system. I know for some ungodly reason we like to find press man corners and turn them into zone corners. But it seems like we like to run a concept of press and zone, like we like to mix it up. So I guess it works out in our favor to an extent. Ambry Thomas came on very strong, toward the end of the season and definitely did well for us in the playoffs. So it's all the situation of allowing the offseason to keep going and taking our time and figuring out exactly what's going to happen next. And, watching the draft, seeing who we draft, where we go. We have holes on the offensive line with left and right guard because we allowed Laken Tomlinson to walk and go get paid, which I'm happy he got paid. We had a hole on the defensive line because we let DJ Jones walk, and him and Eric Armstead were working great and looked, in sync together on that line. We only did that because we knew Javon Kinlaw was coming back. Here's the issue. I don't know if Kinlaw is going to be able to stay healthy to be able to be out there and build that chemistry with Eric Armstead because of the way that we use him. So we shall see what happens. A lot of people think that we're going to go edge rusher with our first pick in the second round. We go edge rusher again, I'm going to scream, and I'm probably going to pull all of my hair out, including my facial hair, because I'm tired of drafting a fucking edge rusher or a defensive lineman in the first pick that we have since John Lynch and Kyle have been here. It's getting really annoying. I don't want to see Solomon Thomas was horrible. No offense to him, but he was not a good pick. Javon Kinlaw gave us a subpar rookie year, and then the next thing you know, he's out again. He was injury prone when we drafted him. Armstead, he's so. Unless the talent around him is great, he won't be great. When we get Kerry Hyder back and he gave us 8.5 sacks without Nick Bosa, I feel like that's going to be a situation that will wind up proving itself to be awesome, because if he had 8.5 sacks without Nick Bosa, imagine how many sacks he can have with Nick Bosa. And then if you can get, Kinlaw in that middle and have him to be able to clog that up along with Eric Armstead, and they work well and, figure out what it is, then that's going to be a beautiful thing. Kinlaw did state that he was going to miss DJ Jones because it was like he was a big brother to him, which definitely is understandable because you latch on to certain guys and you want certain guys to be there throughout your whole career because, those are the dudes that help you out. I know when Eman Sanders left, that hurt Ayuk and Debo because they were attached to him because he was teaching them the game and showing them how to work and continuing to help them get their work ethic together. Debo is working out. I believe he's down in Miami. Or in Florida somewhere where he's, getting it in and getting his training going. But other than that, like I said, the offseason's been lackluster. I know that the whole point of this is to have content, and I haven't put out a lot. I will be back more in the coming weeks to talk about some things. I'll probably do maybe 1 or 2 mock drafts, not a lot of that, but I didn't want to saturate the channel with a bunch of nonsense. Unfortunately, like I said, since the offseason has been lackluster, there isn't a whole lot to talk about. And I'm not a big fan of just putting out content just to put out content. And I'm not a big fan of consistently just talking about rumors all the time. And I'm not saying that that's what anybody else is doing, but that's all that we've had to really go on this offseason because there's no clarity on what's going to happen. The only thing that we know for sure is going to happen is the draft is around the corner. It's April 28th. That's when the draft is. And we'll see, the first day of the draft, we have nothing to be watching for because the only thing we can do with that is figure out what players are coming off the board that we may have wanted. And the issue with that is, I don't watch college football closely enough to know how great these players are and what these players will do. The only thing I would have to go on, honestly, is Mo's Nose. If you don't watch Mo's Nose and you're a guy who's about to watch the draft, you are missing out. That dude has tremendous knowledge of college guys. I've never seen somebody who can do a draft for every team in the damn league. Mose is extremely, extremely knowledgeable. That's my brother. So if you watch him and you check him out, he'll definitely be able to, give you some insight on what your team needs outside of just the Niners. And he can definitely tell you, if you start mentioning names, most likely he knows these dudes and he's very familiar with them. Other than that, man, I don't have much else. I appreciate any and everybody for tuning in and hanging out with your boy. Looks like we're almost at about 45 minutes. But I'm going to go ahead and end the show there. The biggest things for this offseason, got to get number 10 out the door. Got to get Debo his money so he gets into the building and he's happy. I don't foresee us trading Debo. I hope that we don't. But if we do, there's definitely going to be some real questions about where we're headed and who's going to replace him, because you can't replace Debo. He's a once-in-a-lifetime player, and what he does is hard to replace. There's something to be said about a guy who puts his body on the line every time he touches the ball and who wants to hit you before you hit him, along with just being blessed with the pure talent that guy has. So, once again, I appreciate all of you guys for tuning in. Thank you so much for watching the stream. I'll be on tomorrow with my guys from the Forever Faithful podcast. Definitely check them out. But other than that, continue to keep watching. We appreciate everyone. I appreciate everyone that stops in and takes a look at this video. Y'all stay faithful, stay blessed. Continue to keep going. Don't stress over the situation with number 10. It'll all be over once he's healthy and can pass the physical. Life will move on. And believe me, mark my words, you'll see him cut or traded for whatever we can get for him, along with the fact that, once he's off the books, we can go ahead and take care of Debo the right way, get his money, and make sure that we don't wind up losing a generational talent in him. And the other thing is, you just can't have 10 here, because if you have 10 here, 5 will not be able to compete with all the people in the locker room trying to suck up the energy because they want 10 back on the field. So you don't let 10 in the building. You make sure he passes the physical. That's all you have him there for. Pass that physical. Once he passes the physical, you let him know. Don't come to this building. You treat him like the side chick that he is. Don't bring your ass to this building. When you see me in public with my woman, don't act like you fucking know me. You know what I'm saying? Don't try to walk up and be all cool and, hey, how's it going? Haven't seen. No, we don't want to do none of that shit. We want you to stay your punk ass at home. We gonna call Don Yee. We'll let that motherfucker know where you going, and you can get the fuck on. Or we can call Don Yee and say, hey, he's got his little $1.2 million, whatever the fuck he gets. We're cutting him. Take care now. Bye-bye then. Appreciate y'all. I'm out.